Hello, welcome to the Ox Files, episode 4. We've been talking to the stars of the past. This year, we are looking back at the 97-98 season. There's only one man we could talk to through this season. Joey, how are you?
Oh, very well, thank you.
What are you up to at the moment? Just working at home, or?
Not working, no. Off work, getting paid, so it was okay. Just pretty bored, really, every day. Every day's the same.
Well, we're going to entertain you no end by looking back at your glory years. But I don't know how to tell you this, but there's two fanboys going to get totally carried away here. Dan Curtis, you're always on here. How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm so excited. I'm meeting Oxford United royalty here, and it's such a pleasure.
And Joey Beauchamp.
Joey Beauchamp, yeah.
Have you got a kit from every single season? You seem to have.
Most seasons, yeah. This one, I wanted to ask Joey about this. This is like the most uncomfortable shirt I've ever worn in my life. What was it like to play in?
I can see it. In fact, it wasn't the worst. There was 2 or 3 after that were really, really heavy. I think a couple of seasons after that. That one's quite light as far as I can see.
It just chafes.
One I'm thinking of. But, yeah, our shirts, yeah. That wasn't too bad.
And while Dan recovers from serious nipple chafing, Neil Wakefield joined us. How are you, Neil?
I'm very good, Chris.
A season, you play a role in this season, don't you?
I don't know if I particularly play a role, but it is a season that I look back to with some fondness and memories, including the change of manager and also England's finest, Joey scoring 19 goals in the season.
England's finest. Now, I have good news for the viewers, not so good news for the podcasters. Martin Brodetsky has technical issues, so those viewing this on YouTube won't be able to see him. That's bonus material for you. How are you, Martin?
Oh, very well. I'm actually here just wearing black clothes and I'm in a coal cellar.
Good, good, good. So the podcast, unfortunately, can hear you. Have you got a fiendishly difficult quiz ready for us?
Yeah, it's a bit not as fiendishly difficult as the last one. This one, you might even get a question right this time, Chris.
Doubt that very much.
No. There's not many questions, but there are 16 points up for grabs. So make sure everyone on the podcast and watching this has got a bit of paper and a pencil or pen, and the first question comes up fairly soon into the dialogue. So, you know.
Who are you making favourite to win this? Me, Dan, Neil, or Joey, who was actually there and scored all the goals?
Not me.
Nah. It's going to be Dan, obviously, because he's seen the questions already to make the graphics. So, not that I'm implying anything there, Daniel.
Knowledge is power, Martin.
No, exactly so.
The legal bit to start off with, some of the videos are Oxford United. They're all Oxford United's players, so we're claiming copyright. If you are a fan out there, we may have stolen it from your YouTube, borrowed it from your YouTube channel. Dan, do you want any disclaimers put to this?
I do try and credit everyone that I've borrowed the videos from. It's your copyright, Chris. You're in charge. You're the boss.
That's it. I'm in charge. That's
You're the one that gets done when it all goes wrong.
Yeah, okay.
You're the employee.
Yeah, all right. I'll look after that myself. Right, come on then, Dan. You have given us a menu and a series of games to look back at. Where do we start?
First day of the season. Where else do you start? Huddersfield at home. Nice, comfy win.
While we're looking at this, Martin, who we can't see, can talk us over this. What was the setup here, Martin? Where were we? The summer of '97, roundabout.
Okay, the previous season. We started off really well the previous season. And at one stage, I think in November, December time, we actually reached 5th in the table in the what was the championship now. We fell away a bit, and then in January we sold Matty Elliott to Leicester City for a club record 1.6 million, and that basically did for any chances we might have had of getting in the playoffs, I think. And then obviously so we finished quite comfortably 17th in the table, no danger of relegation that season. And then in the summer we had a bit of transfer activity. We brought in Phil Whelan, brought in Nicky Banger, brought in Christophe Remy, who was my favourite player at the time, apart from Joey, obviously, second favourite player. Jamie Cook signed as professional, but we lost Paul Moody, who went to Fulham. And then during the season, we had various other players coming in, which we'll go through when we get there, I guess.
Well, it's the great Jempson-Moody debate. Jempson won. Yeah. He's still there at the start of the season. Joey, which side were you on, the Moody or Jempson camp?
Moody was, yeah, by far, I'd say more mobile, but that's probably not saying a lot, than Nigel Jempson. But Moody scored loads of goals, bags of goals. He was brilliant to play with. I could say the same about Gemmo. When I played with him this season, he was great. But if I had to choose, I would certainly choose Moods.
Wasn't there an issue between yourself and Gemmo at the Plymouth game in the League Cup?
Yeah, I barely remember that I grabbed him round the throat in a game. I kind of remember that, and everyone said there was a big spat between us, and me and Gemmo got on brilliant. We were best mates. So there was no, I think he just moaned that I didn't pass him the ball as usual,
right.
That he did many times. And I just had enough of it. I think one day, I'm pretty sure I grabbed him round the throat, and obviously that made somewhat more of what there was nothing really. But we were really good mates. So
can I ask you about
nothing in that?
For the younger fans listening or watching this, the last goal in this Huddersfield game, I think that's Martin Aldridge scoring, isn't it? And
yeah.
Martin Aldridge came in, scored loads of goals, and then tragically died in a car crash very, very young. He was a very good finisher and a nice lad, wasn't he, Joey?
Yeah. Yeah, I got on really well with Martin. Yeah, really nice lad. Yeah. Not maybe technically as gifted as a lot of players, but he was a poacher and a goal scorer. If he had a chance, he would more than likely score.
Okay, so this is the first question of the quiz. 2 points. Obviously, Nigel Jempson had 2 spells with us. So from which 2 clubs did we sign him? So point for each club. Write down your answers if you know them, or even if you don't, write them down.
Any signings looming, Chris?
By the time this goes out, the transfer window will be closed down. Stop fishing.
Moving on, it wasn't a bad start to the season generally. This, though, was Joey at his absolute best. This was a Sky match, I think. This is Oxford against Wolves. Joey on fire.
Who's afraid of the big, bad wolf? Not the U's. The Wolves huffed and puffed, but they couldn't blow Oxford down. Joey Beauchamp was a whirlwind and flattened everything in his path. He must have been laughing all the way.
I know, Joey. You've watched this back a million times, haven't you?
This game, yeah. These goals, yeah. Mostly, yeah, a lot from this season. I do quite often have a little reminisce and watch them back.
Joey, did you prefer playing on the right or the left wing?
Right wing, definitely. Just gave me more options coming inside or outside. When I started playing there, I mean, I obviously started on the left wing, and really if I cut inside on my right, it was really, I didn't really have an option. I couldn't really shoot very well, particularly with my right foot when I started on the left. But when I went on the right wing, I obviously could cut in and bend it in, crosses and shots. But I kind of perfected a kind of take it down the line and kind of swinger of my right foot. And it seemed to work quite often. And the more and more I did it, it kind of just improved it the longer it went on. Because, yeah, to start with, my right foot was really like just for standing on. And, you know, it just kind of playing on the right wing, it just gave me more options and eventually got pretty, not too good, but averagely quite good at crossing with my right foot.
It was quieter on the right wing as well because Fordy wasn't behind you telling you what you were doing wrong, right?
Oh, yeah. That was a big plus, yeah. Yeah. Did like moaning.
Was it just me? You seem to really turn it on for Sky matches as well. Every time the Sky cameras came along, you'd always have a particularly good game.
I don't know when the QPR game was. I remember the QPR game when we won 3-1. Yeah, every time it was on Sky, every time we had a big crowd, I don't know, I just kind of, I just seem to play better with a bigger crowd and Sky cameras there. Don't know why. I think the team played better as well as if just not me. I think we always did pretty well when we played on Sky.
Well, we're with us as fans on here. I was in the Osler Road. Dan, Martin, I know was a lot of the time in the Beach Road. Dan, where were you?
Normally London Road, standing by Neil and Martin actually.
So Neil, what side were you? Right side, left side?
Left side, London Road, just slightly to the left of the left-hand goalpost, halfway up.
Just a little bit.
To be precise.
Just behind me.
No. Martin's got another question. Oh no.
In which club did Bobby Ford join after he left United in 2003? So that's not the Sheffield United move. It's the next move after he came back to the club.
Oh,
well, I don't know that. I knew the other one that you were just going to edit.
I misread the question when I was doing the graphic. Right, that's a good one. Moving on. Our home form have been brilliant. Our away form not so good. This was like our first away win for some time. Martin?
Yeah, very possibly. I didn't research that, but yeah.
Dropping you in it. So we're away at West Brom.
It was November the 13th, 1996, when the Yellows last won away in the First Division. So at second place West Brom on Saturday, you wouldn't have given them a chance. You wouldn't have given them a prayer after just 7 minutes when Andy Hunt had Albion in front.
Oh, I've got to ask you a question. Now we're doing this. The corner where you drop it onto the near post, Elliot or somebody knocks it on, Moody or somebody comes crashing it in. Whose idea was that corner in the first place?
Well, I suppose all I remember really about them corners is we used to do them every Friday at the end of training, and we must have done 100 every Friday, just over and over and over again. And I presume it was Dennis Smith. I remember doing it when Dennis Smith, he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And obviously practice makes perfect. It's extremely boring doing it, but it just, yeah, we just got that kind of set piece. And I'm surprised no one does it anymore. I don't really remember. It's a pretty good way of scoring a goal. A big man on the
I guess not everybody can do a pinpoint delivery to the near post though, Jerry.
Sometimes, yeah. But I mean, I'm just surprised even like now, just no one seems to do it. I'd rather have an in-swinging corner with a big man on the near post than an out-swinging corner. I think we just scored many goals that way. I suppose football's changed in the last 10, 20 years.
Do you remember teams couldn't defend it, could they? They didn't know whether to mark the man at the near post or the man running in.
Yeah. No, just any flick on, cause havoc.
The second goal that we scored at West Brom, though, I think that was a young Darren Pearce. Dan, is that right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Who, he did all right for himself, I guess.
Is he back at the club now?
Yeah, under-16s coach.
Was it around now that things were starting to unravel a little bit? Martin, what's happening behind the scenes at the club at the time?
Well, obviously, things weren't going too well. There was the Maxwell pension money scandal, and that meant that the club wasn't after Robert Maxwell died in a couple of years previous. That it took a few years for him to unravel his estate, but basically meant that Oxford United were paying Maxwell's estate. Robin Hurd, who was the chairman, basically sunk all his fortune into the club. Didn't have any money left by the time he stepped down at the end of October. And so, the club was had a lot of debt to Taylor Woodrow, especially the people who had been building the Kassam Stadium, that walked off, leaving it unfinished because they weren't getting paid, which is fair enough. So the club owed them somewhat north of £6 million. They were losing 15,000 quid a week anyway, and there were other debts they had to pay. The Oxford City Council they owed money to for the stadium site, and so things weren't good. And obviously there was as they say, Bobby Ford left. That was part of the fire sale that the club found themselves offloading players for possibly, arguably, less money than they were worth, just to keep afloat.
Joe, you were in great form at the time, and clubs were starting to talk about signing you again. How aware of that were you?
I remember the clubs that were interested. I remember speaking to Fulham when Kevin Keegan was in charge, but I can't remember really any other clubs or I wasn't aware of anything anyway.
Were you aware of the financial position the club were in at the time, though?
Well, it's pretty much always in that position of selling the best players, certainly around this time. So it's nothing new. I always felt that I might have to make another big decision about if I was going to leave or anything. At any point, it could happen. But yeah, I do remember, a few times having a few conversations with Malcolm Shotton, and yeah, I think it's probably towards the end of this season that I think it was the Fulham interest. Not 100% sure.
Before we paint too dark a picture of this, the players did always get paid at this point, didn't they?
Yeah, we always got paid. I know there was a little bit of worry that we might not, but we did always get paid.
We're in a bit of financial problems at this point. The wheels coming off the pitch. On the pitch, we are doing okay, though. Another away win here. This is away at TRANMERE just before Christmas.
Massey, who's been left out for too long, led the charge of TRANMERE with his first goal of the season. Number 2 with just minutes to go.
Neil, this is your favourite player, I think, scoring this one? Sir Les Robinson.
Sir Les, yeah. It was just always so reliable and dependable. And you knew every week what you were going to get from him with Les. And of course, he was such a good, loyal, long servant to the club. Hence his knighthood.
Joe, you kind of said you enjoyed playing with him. What was he like actually on the pitch?
I wouldn't say particularly vocal. He certainly wouldn't have a go at you. He wouldn't, he would always encourage you to take the players on and just maybe just get back and stuff like that. But I always remember Les in training. I used to hate playing against him. He's like a little terrier. He would just be nipping at your heels. He was just horrible to play against. So I'm glad I didn't have to play against him.
This is Dennis Smith's last game in charge for us. Joey, how did you get on with Dennis?
Really well. He was, I thought he did him and Brian Horton. I look back and think they were two of the best managers we had by far. Just worked with what they had, brought good players in, did the best with what they had at the time on limited resources. And I think we had, for us, good success with both them two managers. Both I would say were two of the best around.
Is that a team thing with Dennis and Malcolm Crosby?
Yeah, you had Dennis and Malcolm, and then you had Brian and Mossy. But working together, they were brilliant. I say Crosby was a brilliant coach. Dennis really just put his view across every game and in training a little bit. But Crosby took the training, and it was just a partnership that worked really well. But I thought it was brilliant. He was a really nice bloke.
When Dennis left, Malcolm Crosby took over as caretaker, and the kind of wheels came off a little bit at that point. Was Malcolm Crosby more of a number 2, do you think? Or?
Yeah, he was probably more of a number 2. Mm-hmm. More of a, your mate type in training you have a laugh with. So really wasn't, although brilliant coach, maybe not really cut out for that manager mentality.
He was and remains a brilliant bloke as well. He's great company, isn't he, Cros?
Loveliest bloke ever you'd meet. Yeah, he's brilliant. Really nice.
Does a manager need to be tough then? Doesn't manager need a really, really tough edge? Is it not enough to just be everyone's mate?
Yeah, I didn't really want to mention it, but like when same thing happened at Swindon when John Gorman took over when I was there. Brilliant bloke, best mate, you know, he didn't make it as, you know, being a manager. He was just too nice. He was just too much of your, you know, your coachy type of person who's have a laugh with, and you know, some people just, you know, are great coaches but not good managers.
So, disembodied Martin Brodetsky with your voice. Dennis Smith, then, is this his last game in charge, and had the pressure been building for a while?
It was his last game in charge. I don't think the pressure had been building that much, from what I can remember. There were no concerted calls for his head at this stage, I don't think. I mean, unlike Brian Horton, who, as Joey says, was like, you know, a great manager, but there was quite a vociferous section of the crowd that were wanting him to go.
Can I just stop you there?
You can. What are you going to say?
Brian Horton did the last podcast, and you and Dan were the Horton Out Brigade. Oh, yes, Brian, we loved it when you were in charge. You led the Horton Out campaigns, you two.
That was before my time. As
was it different? Dan Curtis did that fanzine, was it?
I thought exactly the same, Chris.
Yeah, hypocrisy is live and kicking on here. There's no wonder Martin can't show his face again.
I personally love Dennis Smith and Brian Horton as managers, and everyone since as well.
Come on, if we stitch these two up. Then Malcolm's in charge. Malcolm Crosby is in charge. Malcolm Shotton was at Barnsley. Oh, hang on. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Podcasters, here comes another question.
Right, okay. Are you listening? Dennis Smith's first game as manager in his first spell and his last game as manager in his second spell was against the same club. Which club was that?
Well, I remember his first game in charge, but I don't remember his last game in charge, but the answers have got to be the same, right?
Well, I have, yes. You'd have thought so, looking at the question.
Right, I'm confident.
So his first game in his first spell and his last game in his second spell, both against the same club. Name the club.
And while they're all writing that down, Neil, Malcolm Crosby's in charge. It's not going great for him as a caretaker. Meanwhile, in the frozen north, Malcolm Shotton is at Barnsley. Could you take up the story for us from there?
Yeah, so just to wind back a little bit. So it was the 23rd of December, just before Christmas, when Dennis went to West Brom. And I lived and worked in Southend at the time, and I can remember hearing this news about Dennis going. And obviously the club was in a perilous position financially, and now we didn't have a manager. And I thought, well, you know, this is my football club. You know, what's going to happen here, and what can I do? And of course, this is long before the advent of internet forums and the like. So I thought, I know, I'll write to Keith Cox. You know, express the fact that actually what we need is we need some passion and commitment and desire to restore the glory days. So I start writing a letter to Keith Cox, and I think, well, there's no point in me just moaning. I need to put forward a proposal as to what we should do. And so I thought, I know, Malcolm Shotton. You know, after all, he captained us during our glory years. He lifted the Mill Cup. Surely he must be the right person for the club and the right manager. And I found out at the time that Malcolm was reserve team manager at Barnsley. I think might have just gone into the Premier that season. And so I write this letter to Keith Cox just before Christmas, extolling the virtues of Malcolm Shotton and why he should be our manager. And I copied just about all and sundry, including Barnsley Football Club and including Malcolm. So I sent off this ranting letter to Keith Cox, and off I then come back for Christmas. And we had Wolves, I think, on the Boxing Day. And I never really thought anything more of it. It was just, it was it was just something that I did in the moment, and just something that I got off my chest. So we lost at Wolves 1-0, I think, on the Boxing Day. And I'd been back here in Oxford for Christmas. And I went back between Christmas and New Year. And as I remember opening the door, and the answering machine was flashing on the phone. So I pressed play. Oh, Neil, it's Malcolm Shotton. Thanks for the letter. Give me a call. So okay, so I ring Malcolm, and they said, "Oh, thanks, thanks for writing the letter." And of course, I'd love to come back at Oxford. I would crawl on my hands and knees to come back to Oxford. And I said, "Oh yeah, okay, great, Malcolm. Leave it with me, as if there's anything I could do, of course." And thereafter, of course, because of, I guess, the romance of the story and it being Malcolm Shotton, and then with the kind of support of yourself, Dan, and Martin through the fanzines, and then also John Murray at the Oxford Mail, the whole kind of story just gathered momentum and gathered focus. However, at this time, as I think you've already mentioned, Malcolm Crosby was caretaker, wasn't he? And then I think also around about this time as well, Maurice Evans was also appointed onto the board. So I also remember phoning Maurice Evans as well and suggesting that Malcolm would be the right appointment, and sharing Malcolm's phone number with him and suggesting that he gave him a call.
This is the last game of Malcolm Crosby's tenure.
Yellows are in crisis, in turmoil, after throwing away what
It mustn't say we're in turmoil.
and then losing another man.
So we go 1-0 up with Nigel Jempson scoring, and then with a couple of minutes left,
Charlton stole it with 2 in the last 10 minutes. Wakey United.
we go managed to concede 2 goals in the last couple of minutes. Absolute sick, and everyone goes home sick as a parrot. And then things start evolving off the pitch. Malcolm Crosby resigns, I think. Martin, is that right?
Oh yeah, he left to join Dennis Smith at West Brom.
So at which point, Neil, what's happening in your story? What's happening in your relationship with Malcolm at this point?
So at this time, as I've already mentioned, there was then beginning a little bit of momentum around Malcolm Shotton. So I think it was more romance and heart than logic. But I did actually receive a letter from Barnsley Football Club, which I have still got, and it's actually a typed letter. And at this point, when I received the letter, I thought, well, what started off as I wouldn't say so much as a joke, but more as on a humorous level, started getting a little bit serious when the chairman of Barnsley wrote to me, and he says, and I quote, respectfully point out, you are urging Mr. Cox to breach Football League regulations by contacting directly an employee of another football club. If this were to happen, and in spite of my sympathy for the difficulties faced by Oxford United, you may be assured that Barnsley Football Club would become extremely agitated. So I'm sure what I did might have not been within the usual protocol. I'm sure, however it developed within Oxford United, it was due process was followed accordingly.
Just hold the letter up for the camera so that the people at home can see the Barnsley letterhead. Where have you stored that for the last 30 years, just out of interest?
Well, actually, when Dan mentioned to me about doing this, I had to go rummaging up in the loft, and it was in amongst all of the programmes.
The award-winning programmes, that's it.
Exactly.
Joey, Malcolm, now that younger fans won't know this, most of us know this, you were a ball boy at Wembley in 1986. You are an Oxford fan all your life and whatever. So Malcolm Shotton's a hero. Suddenly he's your manager. What were your thoughts when he came in?
Just thought, yeah, it'd be brilliant.
You know, I remembered him from when I was a schoolboy. Possibly left around the time that I became an apprentice. And yeah, I just thought it's going to give the fans and the club a huge lift, which it did, as far as I remember.
I agree with you completely. It did give a lift. Look at that. Hang on. I'm looking.
So this is his first game in charge.
Yeah.
First game in charge. This is Portsmouth at home, a 1-0 win. I remember just the feeling of excitement, partly because, you know, Neil, who was doing work for our fanzine at the time, had like instigated this whole thing, or so it felt. It really felt like the fans had kind of taken control of the club a little bit. It felt like we'd made a real impact on the club.
My memory with that game is that Malcolm wasn't supposed to be actually taking charge of the team for the game, but midway through the first half, he was suddenly turned up on the touchline and was sort of like giving all the verbals and urging the team forward. So, and sort of like, and the team responded to it.
I can so remember the Joey's goal at the end and the atmosphere.
United heart on his sleeve. Another name from the Yellows past, John Durnin. Remember him? Could have wrecked the home.
That looked like Malcolm Crosby was stood behind Malcolm Shotton. Did he stay on as assistant?
Yeah.
For that game, because Malcolm didn't take charge officially for this game, did he?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well in, Joey, well in.
The noise that day was amazing.
Great to get a win.
What did he say when he took over, Joe? What was Malcolm's kind of first few words or first thoughts to you? Like,
Can't remember. I just remember just being quite excited about him being there, and obviously I was a schoolboy Oxford fan, and for me it was just great.
Big lump of a man in the middle of that picture. That must be Paul Wanless in there somewhere, I think.
Probably.
So I've just read an article I wrote about this season for a book. This was ages and ages ago. And it says in it that the first week of training under Shotton was hell for the players. I got that quote from possibly you, even in one of the local papers. It said that the training was hell on earth that week as he was determined to get you fit. Do you remember that at all, Joey?
I think he certainly came in and, yeah, put us through our paces. Can't really remember in what way, but we certainly did train a lot harder when he took over.
He is a fitness freak. He still is. He's had a bad back, but he absolutely prides himself on fitness, and I think that was probably his message.
Yeah, going to an army camp.
Yeah.
When in pre-season, I remember, going through under the water and the muddy lake thing, because I remember him being just behind me. I remember the clip on the TV. So yeah, it wasn't over, it wasn't anything too horrendous, but it was certainly, we worked as hard, and it paid off.
Question for everyone. I think it's a bit of a gimme for Joey, but who was Malcolm Shotton's assistant?
What?
That's your memories.
Can't remember his first name.
These are easier this week, Martin.
Yes, they're meant to be, because I got pelters for last week's questions, didn't I? So.
Only because you got the answers wrong.
Yeah, you did give us a lot of wrong answers. So.
One wrong answer. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So next week, Neil, were you at this game?
I was at this game. I remember that Joey was absolutely unplayable in it. And I also seem to remember that we didn't take as many fans as you'd expect because of the price of the tickets at Forest. Do you recall that then?
I do remember that. It's about 20 quid or so. It actually mentions it in the article that I was reading earlier. But yeah, there's a huge boycott by Oxford fans because it's £20 a ticket. That's a long time ago, though.
I think we got our money's worth.
We will at Forest. Joey, we've talked a lot about, you were unplayable in this game. obviously we're great going forwards. Who's the defence? You've got Les Fordy, Brian Wilstermann's in there. Darren Purse, is he still there? Is Gilly still there?
I think we
Gilly was still there then, for sure, under Shotton.
So, Joey, what was Malcolm like? Describe his personality in the dressing room.
Well, he was like a sergeant major. He was very loud voice and very imposing character. Put his views across really well. Got the best out of the players, certainly. But, you know, out of the dressing room, he was lovely bloke, really nice. Really got on well with him. Real friendly. But certainly had this persona of just being, you know, really, you know, big, imposing, and someone you certainly wouldn't want to mess with.
He's under pressure here because we're not doing that well. We're towards the bottom of the table, and there's not that much time to turn it round, as I recall.
He's got two wins out of two at this point. How are you feeling, Neil? You've basically appointed a new manager for us, and he's won his first 2 games. You're feeling all right, I guess, at the time.
Well, I wouldn't make that claim, but as you alluded to, Dan, it felt, considering the position that the club was in at the time, it had a really good feeling about it, didn't it? And it felt, for the first time in a long time, that the fans and the football club had been kind of reunited through having Malcolm Shotton. And of course, he was always going to be the fans' choice for obvious reasons. And like Joey says, you know, even for him, it was some appointment, given the history and the tradition that was attached to Malcolm. And Joey just scored a last-minute winner against Portsmouth. We just won at Notts Forest. So what's not to love about it?
The wins keep on coming.
And this would have been against Dennis, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Was this a midweek game?
It was, yeah. This was Big Kev's debut, I think.
Kevin Francis. Again, for the non-nerds watching this, it's the nerds on it because we all know our stuff. Martin, what does Kevin Francis do for a job now?
He is a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He's trying to find a horse big enough for him to sit on. It must have been a challenge for him, but yeah, he's over in Canada now, keeping law and order.
I certainly wouldn't want to argue with him.
Whatever Kev said, that's the law, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
There he is.
If he'd done that against Chelsea, wow. Do you remember the game where Big Kev, he must have been injured, and I don't know if it was this season or the next, he was sent and he stood in the middle of the London Road and led the singing. Does anybody else remember that, or have I imagined it?
I remember that, yeah. I don't remember when it was, but...
Vaguely.
I felt sorry for the bloke stood behind him and wouldn't have seen the game.
So I think what was best about this game is it was like sticking one up Dennis Smith as well. As you said, we all had a slight love-hate relationship with Dennis Smith. And, you know, he'd done his normal trick. When he joined West Brom, he'd said something like, "This is my chance to show everyone that I'm as good as I think I am." That was a quote that came from his press conference. So when he came here with his team struggling a bit and us flying up the table, it really felt like we were kind of just putting one up him a bit.
It's worse than that, isn't it? Because you're being kind to him. And I love Dennis. He's a really nice man. I think he'd claimed to be the future England manager.
The next England manager.
That was the nickname the fanzines gave, wasn't it? Dennis, next England manager Smith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of his claim.
Because we look back fondly on both Brian Horton and Dennis Smith, but that wasn't quite the case at the time, was it, for either?
Well, like I say, I mean, certainly for Brian Horton, there was a vociferous number of fans who may or may not have included me, who wanted him out. There was Dennis. I don't think it was quite that way around, but certainly it's like there's always that revision, isn't there, after a manager left. So everyone suddenly thinks that the next one is better. So you know.
You were just trying to sell more copies of rage on.
we're
so whatever sold was good for you.
Having hounded managers out, Martin, well done. Joey, in the pictures, oh no.
Another quiz question. So for everyone on the podcast and watching this, which international team did Kevin Francis represent? He was a capped international player.
I know what it is.
Yeah, I do.
Oh. So who did he play for at international level?
Should we move on?
Move on.
Can I ask you a question about the people around him? Because as with the previous podcast, the thing I've noticed watching these videos back, and I apologise to people who are only listening, during the pictures, I think I've spotted Simon Weatherston, I think, is in it. Rob Folland's in it. Simon Marsh. Powell is definitely around.
Yeah.
We're gradually having to edge in the local kids, aren't we? And Joey, you've been through that, and you know it takes a season or two to get there. By then, are you feeling like one of the old hands, or were you like showing them around, or what did you see your role with all of those people?
I got on really well with all the younger lads. Power Lee, Cookie, Angels of this world. I've mostly got, who I really hung around with, and they just slotted into the team brilliant. Didn't really need any guidance. Yeah, I'm probably feeling a bit older, made me feel a bit older, but no, they all pretty much were successful when they got their chance.
They maybe needed your ID to get in the Park End Club.
Fifth Avenue, I think.
Fifth Avenue, yeah. Move on.
VIP.
I think as well as the young players coming through that kind of added to the excitement of the season and added to that sense that this is our club again. This club belonged to us. These were our youth team players coming through. This was the city of Oxford being kind of represented a bit more. The whole thing kind of added to the excitement of this end of season. Here we are at Man City. What's happened to Man City? Are they still
I think they went out of business. I don't know.
Yeah. Stuart Massey, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like ended his career.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the Beardsley tackle?
Yeah.
And this is Jamie Cook's crowning moment as well, wasn't it?
That was Joey scoring that one. What number was that for the season, Joey?
No, I don't know. Not sure.
A lot.
10, 11? Don't know.
Because Joey was on 19 earlier in the season.
Yeah, I know.
Just waiting to get that 20th, and it didn't ever happen, did it?
Failed to get into the 20s. I know I took a penalty. I think that was my 19th goal. I was trying anything. Penalty.
Man City are rubbish. If Jamie Cook can get back and outmuscle you to tackle you, well, I'm not saying anything about those defenders there.
Yeah, I think they've improved.
Went down this season. I think this is the year Man City went down to League One, which is...
Was this the game where afterwards there was loads of Man City supporters outside demonstrating against the manager?
Who was the manager then?
Sorry?
Who was the manager for Man City then?
I can't remember. Was it Franny Lee? Can't remember.
I remember going to this game and seeing Jamie Cook score and thinking, there's the future. Beauchamp and Cook, that's the way forward. I remember that.
And the other thing I recall from that is Jamie Cook scoring and not really knowing what to do to celebrate, and he kind of ended up skipping like a horse.
Should have gone for a haircut.
The wins keep on coming, and here's Joey again at his best, I think, in this game.
Sure, they won't be the last of the finishing post this season. Stoke maybe after being hit for 5.
Matt Murphy scoring the goal.
Matt Murphy.
Yeah.
Murphy again.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Francis.
Always a fan's favourite, Matt Murphy.
The Brian Horton of midfielders, wasn't he? Sort of divided opinions.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was doing some research the other day. I do some research every now and again. Matty Taylor is closing in on scoring as many goals as Matt Murphy scored. Well, that's a pretty good return for Matt, isn't it? Again, those people only listening, Kev Francis has just attempted, I don't know,
what a
Cosby flop, and Joey just scored a worldie.
Big Nev couldn't get to that.
Was that Big Neville Southall in goal?
Yeah, definitely remember that. He was in Neville Southall in goal.
Ah.
You talked about practicing the corners and dropping them on a sixpence at the near post. What about free kicks like that? How many hours of practice would you put in, or was it just natural?
Just practice free kicks and corners all the time. I don't really remember taking many free kicks in a game. Obviously, Jim Magilton took all the free kicks when he played, and around that was one of the only free kicks I really remember taking as a shot free kick. Anyway,
I don't remember you taking many free kicks, I have to say. You should have taken more, Joey. You'd have got your 20.
Around the box, I can't remember taking any apart from that one. The other ones were wide. Yeah, I could use to swing them in wide, but I can't remember shooting from a free kick apart from that one. So it weren't too bad for a one time ever.
Here we go. Here's another Joey masterclass. This is a 3-0 home win against Reading. Was this the Sky match or no?
No.
These wins, we're on such a roll by now, aren't we?
And at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of the league table, suddenly we're looking at the playoffs, aren't we? Thinking it could be possible.
It's an outside.
Always nice to score against local rivals, obviously. Most people don't regard Reading as big a rivals as Swindon, but there are a few who live in that part of the county that think Reading are more bigger rivals than Swindon. So it's always nice to beat them, obviously. So next quiz question. Reading are now known as the Royals, don't know why, but what was their original nickname?
No swearing.
Yeah, I was going to say polite answers only. But...
Okay. And here's another derby win. This is 2-1 against Swindon. So it must be nice, Joey, having someone else nice and tall to aim for with your corners to make it easier when you've got someone who's 6'7" standing on the near post.
Yeah, I'd say to play with as well. Just we didn't just lump it, but it was certainly good to anyone defender, goal kicks, just run. Kevin Francis is going towards Kevin Francis, just run behind him. And invariably, it'd be flicked on, and great way of scoring a goal. A great player to have in the team. Just that presence up front, tall striker.
Did it give you particular pleasure to score against Swindon, Joey?
Sorry?
Did it give you particular pleasure to score against Swindon?
Yeah. Like, remember the 3-0 goal?
Yeah.
The far at the Cuckoo Lane end.
Yeah.
Right in front of their fans. That was the best one. Most enjoyable.
Was it this season at their ground where they kicked lumps out of you for the entire game? Was it?
I remember that game because I've seen it. I don't know if it was on Sky, but I definitely remember seeing lots of clips of it. I remember Mark Walters booting me in the head, and yeah, because obviously I'd left and Steve McMahon was manager, wasn't he? Yeah, I remember getting booted all over the place in that game. I think we lost. Did we lose?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
lost.
Inevitably, we always lose.
2-1 or something, didn't we? I think it's 40 scored. Did 40 score, and then we were 1-0 up possibly, and ended up losing. I remember a game where I got, every time I got the ball, I just got booted up in the air.
And the fans of today who only know about us beating Swindon, because obviously we always do, back then we'd always lose the away ones, and seeing you get kicked up in the air every time you got the ball, just the anger on that away terrace. There's a real anger is an energy, as somebody once said. There was a real frustrating bubbling up of anger going on at that away end. Oh, I hate that place. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm a club employee. Edit that out quick.
Joe, so this is probably your best season for the club. How do you reflect on it?
Yeah, I was probably in my prime. I've scored a lot of goals, created a lot of goals. Certainly probably the last real season that I can remember without any discomfort from a annoying toe that started to play me up not long after this season. But yeah, I look back on this season and the games on Sky and the goals that scored, and certainly very proud of this season.
The stats are there of how many goals you scored. Do you know in your head how many assists you got? Because every goal we've seen, you've either scored or put it on the plate for something.
No. Well, I do remember this season I was always in the football magazines, and I was in the top of I used to always see and look in the top scorers, and I was in the top scorers for for the division. And I just remember looking back like that, stuff like that. It was quite amazing really for a winger at that time, scoring that many goals. So yeah, very proud of.
And it was amazing for us as well as fans. I mean, watching Jerry in his prime was an absolute treat. Dan, what's your memory of Jerry?
Probably be. I'm gonna have to think about maybe the Tranmere goal. On the last day of the season where he kept us up. Or, I mean, there's obviously the Blackpool goal that everyone talks about as the best goal ever scored at the Manor. I mean, there's so many memories. I'd love to say, Joe, because I won't get this chance again to say it to you, but you just provided us fans with so much joy. Like, it was a real treat watching you play. Neil, do you have a memory?
Yeah, not so much a specific thing, but one of the things I always recall is when of course Joey was always a threat to the opposition, and they would double up on Joey, and Joey had this ability to be able just to position the two of them perfectly and then go through the middle of them down as we were attacking the London road. And and that's one of my kind of abiding memories is just the fact that no matter who they put on him, no matter how many people, Joey would always find a way through them.
Neil and I, after the last ever game at the Manor, got a little bit drunk and sneaked into the Manor. We probably shouldn't say this on there. We sneaked in onto the Manor and recreated a load of Joey's goals. There's two drunken men about 7 o'clock in the evening, a beautiful summer's evening. And we were recreating a whole load of Joey's goals, or trying to, but we kept miskicking the ball into the London road end. Do you remember that, Neil?
Yeah, I think I won the penalty shootout as well, if I recall correctly, Dan.
Anyway, Martin, do you have a memory of Joey? A particular memory?
Lots of memories, but yeah, I mean, actually, one of my favourite goals Joey scored was I think your very last goal was against Exeter at the Sam Stadium. You called it a beautiful volley.
Yes,
Remember that game? That was the last game we played, and then I didn't play at all after that.
It's a good way to go out.
Yeah, I never got in the team after that. And never even come on as sub. I always think back and wonder why that happened, but I can't really remember why after that game, because, as I say, I've not played for a long time and actually scored quite a good goal. Got taken off, and then for the next, as many games as I can remember, I was sub, and I just didn't even get on the pitch. I would always like to ask Ian Atkins why that happened, because you'd think that me coming on 10, 15 minutes from the end of a game, I might have been able to create something or take a free kick or a corner to create a goal. That's my one big gripe. If I think back, I just don't know what happened.
Final question in the quiz, and this one's worth 9 points. Obviously, we've just seen Oxford beat Swindon on this show, but obviously since then we've beaten 7 times in a row. So name, for 9 points, all the 7 in a row goal scorers. I'll give you a minute or so to think about this one and write it down.
We lost one fairly recently. We're just ignoring that.
No, we'd ignore that. That didn't happen. It's COVID. It can't happen.
And what about the Johnson's Paint one in the middle that really drew?
No, that doesn't count because it wasn't Johnson's Paint. It was Chequers Bay, so it doesn't count.
That doesn't count. Okay. Yeah. So I've got to name 7. Well, blimey. Was it him?
No, he wasn't one of them. This is Paul Gascoigne wearing an Oxford United shirt after the final game of the season.
Second best player ever to wear an Oxford shirt, I'm saying.
After who?
Joey.
I think we've had better players than Paul Gascoigne in that time.
I'm going to cheat because I'm going to write down answers while getting Joey to answer a question from me. Because Joey, you just said this is 97, 98, and you were starting to feel the effects of your toe. You didn't finish for 3 or 4 years. Was it a gradual thing with that injury, or was there? I thought you stubbed your toe. You did it in one incident. Was it not that? Was it a gradual thing?
No, just I was playing games, and towards the end of games, I just kept getting this really bad like pain in my toe of my left foot, my big toe, just underneath my big toe, where I was, pushing off. Obviously, I think myself that I was never really physically the type of person to be a footballer. Even John Clinkard, the physio, used to always take the mickey saying that I don't look like a footballer. I'm quite very big built, very big thighs, more like a rugby player. And I was quite heavy, even though I was, fit and slim, I was very heavy built. And I think that constant pounding and turning and turning on my left foot, which I did regularly. I just think that pounding of that quite big weight, just kind of eventually the bone in the sesamoid bone just got inflamed, which was what was actually the problem. And that's caused a pain, really severe pain towards the end of games. And I think that's when I started having cortisone injections just to play, just to get through the games. And that, probably the season after was probably when it real started. And and then it was a series of just trying to patch me up to get me on the pitch every week.
What's it going to mean for you, that injury, when you're an older man? I mean, when you get to be as old as Martin, late 70s, what's that toe injury? What's the effect going to be for you?
Oh, it's annoying me now, to be honest. It's constantly, I mean, my toe is bent like probably that is like my big toe now, like that. Whoa. So it's bent where the tendon's been shortened, where I had the operations to take the broken bone out. So it's constantly bent like that. And so it gives me a lot of hassle every day in bed if I'm going to a swimming pool and walking around on hard surfaces. I also get a lot of back pain through probably not walking properly because I'm probably walking slightly off my toe. Or if I do a lot of running or go to the gym, then I'm in agony for about a day or two after, because all my muscles are pulling in different directions to compensate for my toe. So
there's an obvious question here. Obvious question. Was it worth it?
Oh yeah. Oh, I wouldn't, if everything what I did as a footballer, very proud of, and I wouldn't change a thing. Obviously, if I could have had an operation that could have fixed my toe, I could have maybe gone on to play for another 2, 3, 4 years. That's the one thing that I look back and wish that would have happened, and the operation would have been.
We talked at the time, didn't we? We talked a lot at the time, and your ambition was to end as our all-time top scorer, or get as close as you could, and it just robbed you of that chance.
Yeah, if I could have played, for 31, that was when I retired, so I could have had another 4 or 5 years if I'd have kept fit, and the toe would have been okay. So yeah, I could have been up there, a bit more up the charts of the goal scoring charts. Wow, it would have been brilliant to finish as top scorer for the club, but I think I was a few off.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
If only we had the club historian to tell us how many you were off, but
I think that's, How many did I score? 78?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, record was 107.
So you're talking 30 goals in 4 or 5 seasons. If I could have played, I might have managed it, maybe. But not from
quality as opposed to quantity, Jerry.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll take that.
All right.
So the season finished on a slightly damp squib. We lost 2 of our last 4 and drew the other 2, but we had a fun day out at Middlesbrough. Everyone got drunk. Middlesbrough got promoted. We laughed at their fans, and Paul Gascoigne wore an Oxford shirt. It was a nice end to a truly memorable season. Probably one of my favourite seasons ever as an Oxford fan, just because of the kind of impact the fans had, and especially Neil.
That game that Gazza played at Middlesbrough, that was one of the best games I played in. It was just like everyone just didn't care. We were just having a laugh on the pitch. Paul Merson, I remember trying to nutmeg me and just laughing. It was just like, it was a really good atmosphere. We weren't really bothered if we won or lost. Everyone was all in a happy party mode because they were getting promoted. And it was just, and I played against Gazza. I mean, last game of the season, massive crowd, brilliant atmosphere. And that was one of the best games I've ever played in.
Yeah, and Nicky Banger, I think, scored a consolation goal for us, didn't he?
Yeah, do remember, yeah.
He enjoyed it in the sun, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get to speak to Gazza, Joey.
Browner than me when I was young. I used to like a sunbed. He was constantly brown.
He's dangerously brown, but orange.
Joe, did you swap shirts with somebody that day? Who's Gascoigne?
Martin Gray. That was definitely Martin Gray. Martin Gray took his shirt, I think.
Right.
Pretty sure Martin Gray had his shirt. I didn't swap shirts as far as I remember.
Yeah, somewhere in your cupboard you got a Phil Stamp shirt or something like that.
So you want the quiz answers?
Quiz answers, Martin?
No, well, it's a bit unfair because I kept Joey talking all the time that we were scribbling down answers.
Well, it's not unfair at all. I'm going to exempt Joey from this one anyway. So, okay, so the first question for 2 points. From which 2 clubs did United sign Nigel Jemson?
So I'm confident about the second one, and I'm unconfident about the first. I'm going to say Ayr as the second one.
I'm saying Forest for the first one.
Okay, anyone else? Neil, got any answers?
I think it's Notts County, the first one.
Notts County is the first one.
Ayr was the second one.
Ayr was the second one. Okay, question 2. Which club did Bobby Ford join after leaving United in 2003?
Bath.
Bath City, yeah.
Bath?
It was Bath, yeah. He went off and he played part-time for Bath while learning to be a plumber in Bristol.
He went to be a plumber in Bath. There's a gag there, Martin. No,
there is a gag there. Yeah. Don't know what it is, though. Question 3. Dennis Smith's first game as manager in his first spell and his last game as manager in his second spell was against the same club. Which one?
Joey will know that. Come on, Joe.
I wrote Blackpool. I ain't got a clue.
That's right, I'm afraid.
Bristol City.
Bristol City, indeed, yeah.
No, it began with B.
Well, yeah, that's good enough. I'll give you a point, Joey. Okay, who was Malcolm Shotton's assistant?
Somebody Harrison.
George. Got it.
George Harrison.
The first name Mark. I had the first name Mark.
Mark Harrison. It's not George Harrison.
Mark H.
Mark Harrison.
Was he Bangladesh manager for a while as well?
Yeah. I think he's back now, but he was around a few Asian countries. He was the national team.
He was certainly involved with the Bangladesh team, yeah, and I think he was in Saudi Arabia for a while as well, I think. Next question. Which international team did Kevin Francis represent?
A very good holiday destination, if only we could get there.
Well, quite.
No.
I want the full name, Dan, not just Kitts.
St Kitts and Nevis.
Correct.
What if you've written Nevis and St Kitts?
Then you're a fool. And you've got no place on this podcast. Question 6. Reading are now known as the Royals, but what was their original nickname?
Stripy Chelsea Losers.
Well, yeah, I mean the original nickname that was kind of official rather than what we all called them.
They were the Biscuit Men.
Biscuit Men.
They were the Biscuit Men, yeah, because of the Huntley and Palmer's factory in the city. And the final question for 9 points. Name the 7 in a row goal scorers.
We'll do them in turn. So I'm going to go with Robbie Hall.
Correct.
Jefferson Louis.
Correct. That's the first and last ones named.
Oh.
Asa Hall.
Asa Hall, yes.
Yeah, you got one.
Ollie Johnson.
You got
Yes.
one in the same game.
Roof.
You got 2, but you only get 1 point for him though.
Bino.
Bino got 2 as well.
He got two away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Alfie Potter?
Alfie Potter in the whatever it was trophy, the Johnson's Paint Trophy.
Liam
missing 2.
Sturcombe. Liam
Sorry?
Sturcombe.
Liam Sturcombe got 1. Yeah. They're just missing 1 now.
I'm not, because they're the only ones I knew. Og.
No, we didn't get any Uggs. It was Chris Maguire.
Maguire, yeah.
So there you go.
Assisted by Vigouroux, I remember it. Yes. Hang on, I've got to get my total here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So there's 16 points in total available.
Oh. I've ended up with 9, and I got 7 of those from the goal scorers at the end.
That's good work.
Proud of that.
Yeah, Dan, you were giving it big before.
I've got
How many?
15.
15. Something dodgy going on there. Won't send you the questions in advance again. Neil, how did you do?
To be honest, I haven't added them up. Given my superior knowledge, it must be 1 more than what Dan scored.
Presumably, yeah. And Joey, I know you got 16 because that's what I'm awarding you anyway.
Yeah, 16 more than I got, pretty much.
You liar, Beauchamp. You were just
I got 2.5. I think I got 2.5.
Okay. I rounded up. That makes 16, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice one.
Before we came and did this, Joey was telling me he was helping school kids, homeschooling his kids at mathematics. You want to do history, mate? You want to get on do some history lessons? Not
One thing I'm really bad at: football trivia.
Do you remember?
Joey, if I remember correctly, you are good at maths. Is this true?
Yeah, I took my maths O level a year early and got a grade A, and then took statistics and got a B. That was I was in the top group at maths at school.
And
so
Mensa as well.
I'm really good at I did the Mensa test and passed when I think that was just after I retired. So I've always been good with numbers, but little else apart from football.
The games we've been looking back at and the seasons, do they all blur into one? Do you remember distinct games or?
Yeah, some of these games that you show me, like of this season, I just can't remember some of them, and some of them I really vividly do remember, like the Man City game, the games that were on Sky, the Wolves game, and like obviously games like the Tranmere game and the Blackpool game. I do remember, but Swindon games, yeah, obviously. But yeah, some of these games on this reel we've had is just I can't remember at all. But it's nice to look back.
It must be nice as well to know you're so fondly remembered, and that at least 3 of the panel, in fact, all 4 of us are slightly starstruck that you're on here. So we want to thank you, Joey, for coming on and talking about it. We'll find another season. We'll give Dan more time to find more goals and have you on again to relive some of your great moments.
Be good.
I say this every week. Neil came forward and is happily representing the fans. If there are other fans watching or listening and you've got a favourite season, we didn't go up this season. We didn't win at Wembley, but it's got memories for all of us that are on here. So if there are other seasons that fans remember, get in touch with us. Come on here, meet your heroes, have a chat. That's what this is here for. But for now, gentlemen, thank you very much.